Look, this was the second big hearing, and this is after the New York Times a few years back did a groundbreaking story on UFOs, which are now called UAPs, and Congress opened its eyes, and they started what they said were serious hearings. This is the second. There is still controversy over this.
Right. Are we actually getting the truth from the government? So joining us right now, someone who was at that hearing, has been covering this for The Hill, Mark van Rennenkampf. Welcome to TMZ Live.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for having me, and thanks for covering this story.
We appreciate it. So, Mark, look, there's a guy named Jeremy Corbell, who you know, who really is the leader, or certainly one of the big leaders, in this movement for transparency. And Jeremy talks about the government embracing the truth so they can tell another lie. And the intimation there, the strong intimation, is the government's not coming clean still. What say you, and what came out of this hearing?
That's the million-dollar question, and let me just frame the broader discussion, right? For about 80 years, we have seen official obfuscation, derision, and ridicule of this topic. I think what we're seeing now, just in the last day or two, we're seeing a bit of a change from the U.S. government. Now, that is entirely separate from what Congress is digging into, and those are that's a much thornier issue. These long-standing rumors and allegations that we may have retrieved craft of non-human origin, and that we are attempting, the U.S. government or private contractors are attempting to reverse engineer this technology. So you have these two kind of competing narratives. The government has denied all of that. But I did mention just now, I said non-human technology. I'm very intentional with that word, because that is the word, and that is the definition that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer put into 63 pages of proposed legislation that, in essence, alleges that the government has indeed retrieved craft of non-human origin. I think that's extraordinary. And this hearing, we had witnesses, and one in particular who built on that and literally raised his right hand and said under oath that he believes that we have retrieved craft of non-human origin.
So, Mark, it seems like what's happening here is that you have Congress asking all the right questions of the right people who say they have this information, yet the government, and I think when we say the government, what we're really talking about is the Department of Defense, is not being open with this, even though Congress seems to want transparency. They can't get it, right? I mean, it just seems like for whatever reason, the Department of Defense feels like they need to keep these secrets, or at least they've been described as secrets by the witnesses who've come forward.
That's right. And I think the allegations are that this extends well beyond the Department of Defense, the Pentagon, where I actually worked. I worked at the Pentagon. The allegations are this extends to the intelligence community. CIA in particular has been mentioned, and also, importantly, private contractors. The allegation, and again, I'm repeating these are allegations, but they have been repeated, and this is in Schumer's bipartisan legislation. The allegation is that some of these materials, if they were in fact retrieved, were transferred over to private contractors to avoid transparency. It's kind of a loophole to get around transparency requirements and to hide this in a corporate military-industrial complex.
So the distinction seems to be that Congress is looking for transparency, whereas the Defense Department is not. I want to call shenanigans for a minute on Congress. And I have a question for you. So there was a 12-page report that the chairperson, Nancy Mace, the Representative Nancy Mace, presented. And this was written by this person I had mentioned earlier, Jeremy Corbell. He is on the first page of this document, which has to do with unidentified anomalous phenomena. It's a very important document for this committee. For some reason, Nancy Mace and company took the first page off. They then presented a report that was 11 pages that they said was 12, and when they got called out on it, they took a blank page and put it at the bottom because they wanted to eliminate Jeremy Corbell's name. That's the only thing I can think of. Why? Why did they do this? Because they're acting as if, yeah, we want to be transparent, yet they pull this stunt. What's going on?